A number of non-peer-reviewed articles have been written and published on the web claiming that there is literally nothing to fear from acetaminophen during pregnancy. There are two types of articles that fall into this category. First, reputable watchdog organizations have weighed in on the issue, declaring acetaminophen use during pregnancy and during childhood to be proven safe. In particular, the National Health Service of the UK and the Centre for Accountability in Science have both strongly criticised the Spanish study from 2016 showing a link between acetaminophen use during pregnancy and ADHD autism. The second type of article is generally written by a science writer working for an organisation that runs a website, often quoting 1 to 3 experts who claim that is perfectly safe and that pregnant women and families should not be concerned. Many of these articles are published by reputable sources that are generally trustworthy. Typically, an expert is being asked to comment on one particular publication showing a link between acetaminophen use, usually during pregnancy, and some sort of neuropsychiatric problem, autism, lowered IQ, hyperactivity, and/or social behavioral problems. Depending on the study. There are several important things to consider when evaluating these articles. 1. There are a number of university professors who have studied the use of acetaminophen in the developing brain and who are keenly aware of the potential dangers. A partial list of these individuals is provided below. 2. Being an expert in acetaminophen neurotoxicity during development means that considerable time has been invested in studying the issue. Any true expert in this issue will be aware of basic facts regarding acetaminophen neurotoxicity. These facts include the following. A. Studies in animal models, both in mice and in rats, demonstrate that acetaminophen use during a sensitive period of brain development causes long-term alterations in the brain and is manifested as problems with social function. B. Margaret McCarthy, chair of pharmacology at the University of Maryland, has worked out the probable mechanism by which acetaminophen-induced brain damage occurs. Her research team has found that the male brain is considerably more sensitive to acetaminophen than the female brain, possibly accounting for the gender bias in autism. C. There are, as of January 2017, a total of 8 published studies evaluating the long-term effects on children of acetaminophen use during pregnancy or during childhood. 2 of these, one in 2014, one in 2016, were published in JAMA Pediatrics, one of the most highly respected pediatric journals. All studies point toward acetaminophen use being associated with long-term problems with neurological function. Each study design has included some attempt to control for indication. In all studies, acetaminophen use rather than indication has been identified as the key factor associated with cognitive problems. A formal meta-analysis is not currently possible because of the varied outcome measures and study designs, but all 8 studies point in the same direction. Acetaminophen is neurotoxic to the developing brain. The studies are not cherry-picked, selecting only those which find an effect. All studies point toward a neurotoxic effect of acetaminophen in the developing brain. D. Acetaminophen substantially alters brain chemistry and temporarily impairs awareness of social issues in adult humans. E. Testing of acetaminophen safety in children did not include any evaluation of brain function, and no long-term studies were ever conducted. The primary manufacturer of acetaminophen in the U.S. acknowledges that the drug has never been shown to be safe for brain development when used during pregnancy or in childhood. All safety tests were performed with the assumption that any side effects would be acute in nature, for example, bleeding or acute organ damage. This assumption was based on observations made with acetaminophen in adults and with aspirin in children. It was not based on any experience with acetaminophen use in children. 3. Having prescribed tens of thousands of doses of acetaminophen does not make anyone an expert on the neurotoxicity of acetaminophen, any more than eating thousands of pounds of chips makes somebody an expert in the effects of an inflammatory diet. Credentials and certifications that allow physicians to prescribe acetaminophen do not make them experts, and elevated positions in the medical community do not qualify anybody as an expert on the effects of acetaminophen. If somebody does not know those basic facts listed above, then they are not an expert on the neurotoxicity of acetaminophen. Usually, the experts will have published one or more peer-reviewed manuscripts on the topic. Those are the people to ask when an expert is needed. 4. It is tempting to point accusing fingers at physicians who say that acetaminophen is safe when they literally have no grasp whatsoever of the relevant scientific literature. However, this would be a mistake. I have tracked down a few of these individuals who were quoted in a very public format, and one individual, in particular, didn't even remember having made a comment on the topic. The most likely explanation is that a reporter asked them if acetaminophen was safe, and their response based on their training, not on the knowledge of the literature, was that it is safe. After all, if they didn't think it was safe, they would not be administering it dozens of times per day. So, if a reporter asks a physician if something is safe, and they provide their knowledge based on what they have been taught and how they practice, then it is hard to blame them. The reporter didn't ask them to spend days or even weeks reviewing the literature in detail, but rather assumed that any physician administering something dozens of times per day would know the literature. This is a false assumption. No physician has the time to study all current literature on every drug they administer. So, in a nutshell, a tragic propagation of incorrect information is occurring despite the best of intentions of all parties involved. 5. Unless an organization such as the National Health Service has the time to review a topic thoroughly, they should remain silent on an issue. It took a team of us 2 years to put together our summary of the evidence, both direct and circumstantial, regarding the potential neurotoxicity of acetaminophen during development. It took the NHS only days to publish their recent criticism of the 2016 Spanish study, offering questionable criticisms of a single paper without reviewing the literature to see how that publication fits into the big picture is a disservice to the public being served. 6. Reading the published quotes from many experts who exonerate acetaminophen, it is apparent that the logic falls into one of two categories.